Once more, I'm traveling for work, and once more, I'm in isolation. I was thinking about saying something regarding my thesis as it pertains to the 7 mortal errors. But no, it's the isolation. I have to think on this because that's more in keeping with my thesis, my principal tenet, which is that the spiritual exists as a construct of language. Language exists as a communal activity between people. And that in isolation, you can grasp the shape of these things because you're incapable of participating in them usefully. Now, to state that more, I guess, cogently, I have to defer to the old Bible. Wherever 2 or more are gathered in my name. Right? It's never wherever you are by yourself. There has to be a communal aspect of a conversation between yourself and the other. And again, I do think that manifestation of a spiritual presence comes about through the deeper understanding that is attained regarding common experience, mutually shared by people. So when there's a thing between us, you and I, or more likely you and other people, I say as a loner, whenever you and I are able to communicate something essential, something powerful between us, that means that has a meaning that transcends just the words, where the words become just a noise that indicates a personal feeling that is common to us alone, this shared experience, this vital thing that we have together. I mean, I'm sensitive to it. I look for that in life. I've mistaken it for love often enough, or romance, but to conjure that feeling between me and you and everyone else, ideally between everyone else, is there's a reason. So let me step back. There's an experience that people can have with one another that manifests an emotion that does not have any explicit name, but that evolves a name based upon the experience of the moment. I think if you look at, say, the I Ching, there's probably the best examples of this. The image is water above the mountain, that type of thing. The lake in the midst of the water. And I know that's not really one of the hexagrams, but it's always this image. And then in life, there's that one experience, that one piece of your neighborhood that you and the people that walk through it know well, and they have that understanding of it that is not really communicable, but it's not something you can articulate cogently toward people who haven't had that experience. But to the people who've had that experience, you can say something like, it's 13 o'clock. I can say it's 13 o'clock because of all those years where I lived in Lakewood and where the St. Cyril and Methodius Church would strike 13 in the middle of the day out of no reason, and so he said, oh, it's 13 o'clock. Because at 3:45 or 3:47 or some obscure time is irrelevant to most clockmakers, the chimes would ring and they would ring 13 times. And my roommates noticed this, my neighbors noticed this, and we would mention it to one another. But then this becomes the spirit of the neighborhood, just like what I would refer to as the Jupiter and Dikes, the local god, the thing that manifests as the god of this place, as the local deity that we comprehend, and by its comprehension draws us closer together and creates a community. I think fundamentally that all the spiritual interactions require this linguistic mediation because the spiritual is not just mediated by language, but as the medium within which it exists entirely. So, in isolation, you can see and observe other people's, they're not to conflate ideas too much, but you can say they're shibboleths, they're those religious manifestations of the spirits that draw them together, that compel them into that unfakeable closeness, that true communion. And again, this is a thing that happens between people, not a thing that a person can generate on their own. Maybe something is to be said for the person who tries to do so. Maybe that is what the magician is. Maybe that's the folly of the wizard to attempt these things. But as a spiritual work, the real work is to build those connections between yourself and another, and to manifest more and greater connections purely out of the shared experience, but the shared inner emotional experience that you build into each other. I mean, your best relationships, those that are the most long-standing, are the ones that have the most obscure references and the strangest terminology, but which carries the most weight and meaning. And this is, to my way of thinking, this is foundational to the religious experience. This is what it is to have a God. Now, I do wonder, I wonder a lot of things. For example, I have to travel today for work, and I'm not persuaded that my work does much good in the world, or that it improves significantly the lives of people. And so I feel a compulsion to try to do something useful, that I can use whatever I have in me to try to make things better than they were when I started out today, right? And so there wasn't any litter to pick up, so this is my good deed. To try to talk to you about manifesting the spiritual experience and having an emotional connection with you to have a God. Because I do think I was wondering if I really believed this to be the case until I walked into the lobby of this hotel, and on the music that is blaring outside, hilariously, very loudly outside, so that it's loud enough that it keeps me up a little bit. But on the music comes Otis Redding, who is the solution to all of my problems. It's my most favorite of all. So, fa. And I think, this is nonsense, but thanks, Otis. You said nonsense, and it manifests to me all sorts of meanings. Really none that relate to him per se, but that remind me or are evocative of periods of my life or experience that I had where he was, ambiently present. And – so I have to concede that maybe maybe the recorded word, recorded message, the recorded song is able to breach the solitude and create a meaningful connection with other people that can manifest as a deity, the local god, maybe the local god of the internet. Maybe there is or could be such a thing. Maybe there should be such a thing. And maybe we should try to manifest it and call upon it and use it to join us together. Whether or not I know you, or whether or not I like you, or whether or not you would like me, we can still have a meaningful and true connection that can have a name that's nothing more than the noise that we ascribe to an intense and elusive emotion that doesn't have a string of descriptors to contain it. They can just be a thing that's felt and it would be nameless, except that we are humans and gifted at naming things. So, irrespective of any other connection, the one that I want to have is that bond where we manifest the spirit, where we create what I would understand, who I think could only be understood as a God. But what if there could be more? What if we could all have this experience? What if we could manifest a real God, not just the little God between you and me when we walk in the neighborhood and see the old familiar thing, that one crack in the sidewalk, that one piece of barely legible graffiti, the little dog and the big dog that team up adorably, all the different things that don't exist except outside of our conversations, that only mean something because you and I saw them together. What if we could have that, all of us together, everybody at the same time? I think this would manifest an actual deity, and it would be its salvation that people seek. Fortunately, I can think this without having to prove it. It's purely an exercise in building a coherent affection for the people around me and the people in the ether across the electric chasm of the internet. So I say this only as a message of hope. This is my theory of the wasteland. That devoid of connection becomes more valid, and devoid of attachment becomes more sought after. And so we can create a new and better kind of attachment, a new and deeper kind of connection, and we can create something holy, something divine. And we can do that together by sharing these experiences. So this is, I guess, Pennsylvania hotel feelings. Pennsylvania hotel feelings. If you have them ever, you'll know, and we'll be the same. Thanks again.